Hello everyone, welcome back to the 5 Minute Tech channel. Today we'll continue on our journey on understanding how to secure ASP.NET microservices, and in this part, which is part 3, we'll be talking about Angular application and how we can hook up the JWT authentication to it. So this will be a full coverage of whatever we have implemented till now in terms of the authentication API, Ocelot, and then consuming that through a UI application built on Angular. So let's get started. So this will be the whole flow, and what we have is a browser which has a login page. The login page will send out a login request. If you remember from previous video, we'll be passing a username and password. The server, which is our API, and in this case it is the Ocelot, will verify the credential and it will return the JWT access token. We'll talk about the refresh token in our next video. For now, we'll just keep it as JWT access token. Now JWT access token will be used to make a call, API call, to get a product list, which I'll be showing in the demo, and by passing the access token in the header. Now the API, which is as Ocelot, will validate the access token through authentication service and return the response if it is a valid token. The return data will be published to a products page or the home page, which will have the grid about the product list. So our UI page will be like this, wherein we will have the app which will be having configured to use the router. The router will be used by the login page form. Via form validation will submit the username and password. We will send the response which we get from the login API call in a storage service into the browser session storage. It will be saved as a key value pair after obtaining on the auth service the response of the JWT token. After the user is logged in, we will be moving to the home screen as well as the user screen, where the user service will be called using that particular token from the browser session storage, and we will be doing an through HTTP JWT interceptor, which is the Angular interceptor which we'll be writing, and then we'll pass on that particular JWT token to get the response from the API. So that is what we'll cover in our demo. So let's just jump into the okay. So I'm right now into a Visual Code prompt. I have just navigated to a folder which I have newly created. So we'll go ahead and create the Angular project, which is ng new Angular. I'll just name it Angular with JWT, and I would like to say no standalone. No standalone will give us the routing module and app module TS files, so that's why I'm using the no standalone. So I'll go ahead with the normal CSS. I do not want server-side scripting, and it is going ahead and creating my project files through Angular CLI. After the installation is complete, you will be able to see this project structure: source, app module TS, app routing module TS. Now we'll go ahead and add some services which we need for our application. To begin with, we'll go ahead and add ng generate service, and a service will be in a folder called shared service, and it will be used across the application. So we are putting it in shared service. First one is auth service we would be needing. So let's run this. Next one is your storage service. We'll go ahead and generate for storage service now. Storage. The third one will be our user service. Now moving on, we will create two components, two folder structures, one for login and one for our home page, where we'll display the product list. So that will be ng gc, and it is our login. So that's login. have our home screen. This is the whole structure which we will have in our application, and we'll also create one helper folder for our interceptor. So let's create that as well. This is like helpers, and in this we will have a JWT interceptor. JWT interceptor. .ts. So to begin with, we'll start writing our auth service code. This is a basic service, so we'll just plug in our changes here. So to begin with, we'll get our HTTP client, and later on we'll have to get our storage service as well, but we will for now move on with this one. We'll create a variable is logged in, or we may not need that right now. So let's go ahead with write the login method. So let's go ahead and write our login method. Login will take username, password, username, string, password, string. This will pass an observable of type boolean, right? And the boolean, what is the problem here? What is okay, it's not returning it, that's why. So we'll return this dot http dot post, and we'll call our Ocelot API gateway API for authentication, and I'll show you that, but for now I'll just type it in. It was https localhost, and it was probably 7019. I'll just get that API in a second, but let's assume that this is what our endpoint is, authentication / login. And in here what we will do is we will go ahead and add the username, password as the input to this API. Now this will return us the response, so we need to pipe it dot pipe, and the pipe response will have map response and this will go into a method, this dot storage service, which is we'll be writing right now, and this method we'll keep it for now, so let's keep it like this. And then we will do is we will catch any errors, catch error, and that error we will relay it back. Error, and console.log, we'll just log the error. That's pretty much it. We will be using it here. We need to write the storage service, so let's just for now console.log, and we have to return from here, return off. This is expecting a boolean, so false, and that should be it. Same way we will have a logout function, and logout basically what it will do, it will just clear off the stuff, just clear of the whatever we have written stored in our storage service. So let's write the code for that. So the pseudo code for that would be this dot storage service dot clean. So something like a clean method we will write there. And similarly, if there is anyone asking authentication service, is the user logged in, we'll write that method as well, is authenticated, a method like this which will return a boolean, and this will return this dot. Again, this is a pseudo code wherein we will be calling a storage service method, and this will return is logged in, something like this. The reason why we will be using storage service, because we are saving it into our browser session storage, so we are getting the data from there. So let's get into storage service and then come back here to fill this code. So in our storage service, we'll first go ahead and write the clean method which we just talked about. The clean will be something which will just remove the session storage, it will clear off the session storage, and that's all it will do. Then we had our we will be getting a token from the auth API, so we need to store that in the session storage. So something like a public save token method. This will accept token of type, basically it will be string, we'll just keep it as any, and that will be something which we will go ahead, will not be expecting anything from here, so let's mark it as void. And here we will be doing a session storage dot first we remove the existing token, so let's name that token as token key. So let's move up and write a constant. So constant token key is equal to something like a JWT token. And this is what I will be using. First we'll remove the existing one, and then we will go ahead and add set item, and that will be our token key. So token key, and the value will be token. Okay, so this is going to save the token. If we want to get the token, public get token will be another method which will also, we'll just keep it as any type, return type, and the constant token is equal to session storage dot get item, and that is our token key. And if we have the token is there, and what we will do is return JSON dot parse and that token. So this is what we will be having to do to get the token. Now if it is not there, then also we will have to return an empty because it is expecting return type. So next we have remember is logged in is what method we just thought we will be writing, and that is something which we will do boolean. And in this one, if the const again token, if we have the token, so this will basically be like this. If it is there, then we will return true, because if we have the token, that means user has been validated, else return false. So that's about this one. And you will go back to the auth service and plug in this code, so that will come through a constructor private storage service private. Okay. Oops. Okay. And this I need to get it, so I got it from there, and now it's logged in. Okay, this is service.clean. I did this, and this is services dot get token. Actually it is save token, because we are going to save the token here, but we haven't received the token, and that is our response. Token will come in the response, right? So that's pretty much. I'll just check this error. Why does not return assignable to? Okay. So it is expecting me to return something. Return true. So that will fix that. I'll move on to the next service, which is our user service. But before going that, we'll go ahead and plug in the cheat code for the login and the home controller. So let's do that now. Next is JWT interceptor code. Here we'll be writing a simple class, Angular class, which will do HTTP intercept. So it's export class, and we write JWT interceptor. So basically it intercepts the HTTP calls, and we will implement HTTP interceptor, and this will intercept. We have to implement intercept method, and it is already giving its IntelliSense here, so we do not need this return. And what we need to return is actually the handle next request. So let's write that. First of all, let's get the token. Token is equal to session storage dot get item, and that will be your JWT token. So we have JWT underscore token. I hope I spelled it right. Let me check this one. So do we have JWT token? Yes, so that's fine. Next is what we will do is to check if token exists, and if so, then we will pass the request is equal to request dot clone, and here we'll pass the header, and the header will be set headers, and that would be the one which we have authorization, and that will be our bearer. So I'm using a reverse tick which is in the top of the keyboard, and that is bearer, because it could be multiple line, and that's why we use it like that. And this will be your token. So this will pass the bearer token, and it will return. So this should return the next dot handle auth request, and then we will have, if it is not there, we do not have the token, then we need to return next dot handle request as it is. And this will be the interceptor which we'll be using, and this will do the job of intercepting HTTP request and passing on the authorization token to it. Let's move on to the user and the login and the home components. So I've gone ahead and added the basic code for the login component and also for the home component. In the login component, we are going to call the storage service is logged, or if it is logged, then we'll be setting this where logged in is true. Whereas on submit, we are going to send the username and password, and then we will save that token. So that is what we will do on the login. So the token is saved here, and then in the home component, and then before going to the home component, in the login component HTML, this is a basic form template wherein we are doing a submit on and taking the two username and password as input parameters. In the home component, what we are doing is getting the product list from the user service. For this, I have created a product model. This is the same as what we have in the server side, wherein we have the 4 properties of which is coming through of the product list. And then what we have here is we'll get the product list and we will bind it to a HTML grid, responsive grid. And then apart from this, I have also added component app component TS is the basic code. There is just one logout function which I have implemented, which will clean up the storage the JWT token which we have stored. Module TS, what we have done is just wired up all the modules which came up with the Angular CLI. So that's pretty much. We'll go ahead and run this application, and I'll show you the debug flow so that you understand what is happening at the background. So let's run npm run start. So by the time application is loading up, let's go to the server side code and enable the course so that it can communicate with the server side. Let's do that next. In the server side code in our Ocelot project, the Ocelot API gateway project, what we will do is enable the course, and that is something which we need to do so that API is able to communicate. And for that, what we will do is we will just go ahead and add these lines of code. So I've added the basic middleware for add course and use course. Services.add course and app.use course. With basically I'm allowing all the things, although that's something which is needs to be secured. So just for the demonstration, I've added the origin method, header credentials, and expose the header with content disposition. So now let's go ahead and run this server side so that we will be able to consume the APIs through API gateway. So our product API is up, our auth API is also up. We are also running our API gateway. We don't have Swagger for it, so anyways it is running on 7.2.1.4. We'll go ahead and launch our Angular, and we get this error wherein it is saying though no provider for HTTP client. So we will have to go ahead and correct that in our app module TS. So in our app module TS, we have to go ahead and include the HTTP client module, and we can do that by import HTTP client module. It's showing it is truncated, but we'll see how to use it. HTTP interceptor also we forgot to include the interceptor which we have written, so we'll go ahead and do that as well. So here we will include HTTP client and add the provider. So this is what we have. This is showing as it is deprecated, but for the time being we'll go ahead with this implementation. What we need to do is provide HTTP client. We have to write client model we have to use here, but we'll go with this right now. So we'll save this and hopefully our application should work fine now. So yeah, application is launching fine now. We'll go ahead and we'll log into our application now. So admin was the user ID and the password. As soon as I do, I would be able to debug it in my developer tools screen. So let's do that. So as you see here, I'm in login component. I'm going to call an API of auth service with username and password, which is admin. So let's go ahead and do that. I do F8 and you see here that JWT interceptor kicks in. It tries to get the token, and if it has that, it will try to see if it is able to pass it to the authorization purpose. As you see, it is hitting the backend API and it is going to auth API through our Ocelot API gateway, and it's going to return the result. So I'll do F5 now, and as you see, it came back here and it is giving the token. Now I'll go ahead and do F8 and it will go ahead and set the token, JWT token, into our session storage. So let me show you that. So if you go to the application now and you go to the session storage, you will be able to see the JWT token. Now any subsequent call will be used, this interceptor will kick in and it will try to pass that JWT token into the request. So let's try that now. Web page now, and let's click on the home. Soon as I click on the home, the interceptor kicks in. It tries to get the JWT. So if you see here, it is getting that token and it's going to pass it as authorization bearer token into the request. Now let's do F8 and you see here it is going to the server side. It's trying to pull out the product list which we want to display on the UI. So I'll do F5 here. And you should be able to see the screen wherein we will have the product list. So this was the implementation using the JWT authentication in an Angular application. I hope you like this implementation. If you like the video, do like the video and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day.